Forgive me, Sigmar, for I have fallen to the temptations of chaos and decided to bring a Hero Hammer squad as the Warriors of Chaos. Now, for those who don't know, Hero Hammer refers to a tactic where you pick a very hard to kill character squad, usually Gotrek and Felix combined with either Miao Ying, Floric, or the Fey Enchantress, and then they can carry your game. Over here, we don't have Gotrek and Felix, so instead we have our Hammerman, Herald Hammerstorm, plus a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle, who is coming in with Stream of Corruption for AoE damage and also Flashy Abundance for healing. Our carry for this game is actually this guy here, Herald Hammerstorm, or known as Harry the Hammer, who is an extremely hard to kill combatant with 60 melee defense when activating that Bane shield, combined with 120 armor, silver shields, plus unbreakable trait. He will hang on there and fight for forever. Also, he has some great damage dealing output, 450 weapon strength, most of that is armor piercing, and then heroic killing blow to further buff up his damage output, but more importantly, he has the Hammer of Harry, a massive explosion that can disrupt enemy formations and more importantly, deal 66% of armor piercing damage. That is no small amount of damage output for sure. For the front line supporting the dynamic hero duo, we have a front line of Marauders mixed in with Aspiring Champions, and then backed up by a couple Chaos Chariots to roll over the rather light front line of Tinge. And then on the flanks, 4 Marauder Horsemen, 2 on each flank, and that's it for our army build. On the other side, my opponent Helmet here, coming in with a line of Marauders of Tinge. They're backed up by an elite backbone composed of Chosen of Tinge and some Spawns of Tinge, providing some mass blockers in case they have to stop enemy chariots. And in the skies, we have the Knights of Immolation supporting Kairos Fate Weaver coming in with Regrowth and the Blue Fire of Tinge. And that's it for the army builds. Now let's get the battle going and see how the Hero Hammer duo performs. Now we all know that the undead struggle against Herald Hammerstorm, but Tinge also find him a tough nut to crack. The thing about Tinge is that they don't have the greatest anti-infantry option on their roster, so against Foot Lords, all they can do is pretty much spam blue fire onto the foot characters, hoping to chip away their health. But there are two problems here. First of all, foot characters having small hitboxes, the blue fire projectiles often miss the target and not actually doing effective damage. So instead, my opponent will be shooting at the Aspiring Champions, trying to chip away their health. Now, the second problem is that we have healing here, so what little damage dealt to the foot characters can be quickly healed back up by the Flashy Abundance, or for the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle, his innate healing Crown of Everlasting Conquest, providing 0.2% heal per second. At this point, the front line has collided with Marauders charging into Marauders. The Tinge spawns with their charge bonus and great weapon strength are doing some nice impact damage to the Marauders, so the backbone of the Warriors of Chaos frontline, the Aspiring Champions, will have to hold the line as the Marauders are taking substantial casualties. On the flanks there, I am running down the Marauders of Tinge with the help of some Chaos Chariots, and the Marauder Horsemen here just trying to break through my opponent's flank defenses as soon as possible, while I will be dropping in some spells there. A Stream of Corruption going down the line earlier here, chipping away the health of the Marauders of Tinge and Chaos Chosen. But at this point, my Marauders are breaking. They cannot withstand the might of a bunch of Knights of Immolation charging their backs, and of course the Chaos Spawns doing really good damage. However, the Tinge army doesn't have much presence on their left flank, so the Chaos Chariots are now free to rear charge. They do have to be careful though, as the Chaos Spawns have the mass to pin them down. They are pulling back to do more Psycho charges, and the Marauder Horsemen are cleaning up some routed Tinge infantry. While in the middle here, Chaos Spawns tying down my characters, Helmet trying to bust through my front line with the Chosen plus Tinge combo, which is quite successful in dealing with my Marauders. But the thing is, Aspiring Champions being super elite with 90 armor even after the minus 30 armor sundering from the Tinge spawns, plus their 40 attack, 45 defense, solid leadership with their encouraging aura, they will hold for forever, especially after the overhaul from Game 2 to Game 3. A Stream of Corruption going down the line once more, chipping away the health of the Chosen of Tinge, also triggering more of the Nurgle magic passive heals. Kairos Fate Weaver trying to hit on my Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle, but he does have enough melee defense to hold his ground. With the Cloud of Flies ability plus 9 melee defense, he has now 63 melee defense. He also has poison to debuff enemies' weapon damage, but that is not the only debuff in the vicinity. His own ability, the Paragon of Decay, providing minus 5% weapon damage, and then there is also Herald Hammerstorm. His Bane Shield not only provides additional melee defense, but also provide minus 10% weapon damage. So Everything in the vicinity that is being hit by poison has a total of minus 30% weapon strength, significantly reducing the Tinge army's melee damage output. Even Kairos Fate Weaver's Psycho Charging is not doing much against the super tanky Nurgle Chaos Sorcerer Lord. While on the flanks here, my units are making quite a bit of headway. My Marauders are mostly gone, but the aspiring champions are holding, giving time for the Marauder horses to stay back and shoot at the spawns of Tinge, chipping away their health with those javelins, while some routed marauders are being run down and chased off, so the Chosens and Spawns are the only bastions of strength for Tinge. The Spawns are unbreakable, but the Chosens are slowly slipping in terms of leadership as they have taken too much damage from the Streams of Corruption spam and the Hammer of Harry. The Chaos Hero Hammer duo are still very much healthy, beating up all the spawns, supported by a bunch of aspiring champions. The aspiring champions, still having quite a few unit models left, can be easily healed up by an overcast Fleshy Abundance. The Chosens and Spawns are still trying to do damage, but they just don't have that melee attack and armor-piercing damage to punch through the protection of these elite Chaos Infantry. On the other side, my opponent is trying to drive away my Chaos Chariots by dropping down those Knights of Immolation to push them off. With the Tinge Flyers distracted, the Marauder horses are able to whittle down the Tinge spawns with their Javelin fire. Some of the regrouped Marauders are being chased off by the Marauder horses, while this one remaining Chosen of Tinge here, surrounded by enemy units, will be broken off as well, terrified by the presence of Herald Hammerstorm. Harry the Hammer, truly one of the mightiest champions of the Warriors of Chaos in the current meta. Now, on the far side, Kairos trying to dive my Marauder horses, doing some chip damage, but then the Marauder horses basically ignored him and chucked some javelins in his way and backed off. With one of the Spawns plus Chosen pockets being destroyed, Helmet's last line of defense lies in these Chosen and Spawns. They defeated some unsupported aspiring champions but will soon be swarmed by the Marauder horses. There's also, of course, the Knights of Immolation trying to hunt down my mobility. They will probably succeed as they do have some slightly faster speed at 105 compared to the 90 of my Marauders horses, but then again they seem to be more focused on hunting down the Chariots as they do not want the Chariots to psycho charge the Chosens, as Chariots actually start doing some damage to infantry right now. Once again, aspiring champions clashing against Chosens of Tinge. But here comes the Fleshy Abundance, the aspiring champions, with 13 models left on this one, 12 models left on this one. They still have plenty of potential for healing, allowing the Nurgle spell to greatly boost their survivability, replenishing their HP. While the Marauder horses are at the back here ready to shoot in with some overwatching fire, or some of them can just go into melee to surround the Knights of Immolation and pin them down on the ground. Finally, we have a Hammer of Harry exploding right in the middle of the Chosens, blasting them away with some nice armor-piercing damage. The great thing about the Hammer of Harry is that it doesn't do friendly damage, so you can actually cast it right in the middle of your own infantry blob, destroying your foes with the explosion while your units stay safe. Though it seems that the item description forgot to mention that part. The Knights of Immolation also receiving some healing from Kairos Fate Weaver here, regrowth topping up their hit points, but then my characters are here to beat them down. Harry the Hammer with 70 attack, 60 melee defense. He's not taking much damage in this engagement, but dishing out quite a bit in return, while the horses are here to bog down the Knights of Immolation with their cavalry mass. On the far side here, Chosen fighting against Marauders. They probably would win this fight as long as their Tinge Shield can mitigate some damage for them. With their elite melee stats, yeah, they should be able to beat down the rather tattered Marauders despite their leadership wavering and whatnot. The real problem for Tinge Army is here, Knights of Immolation slowly approaching their heal cap. If this unit is gone, Kairos Fate Weaver alone cannot carry this game as he does not have the killing power to finish off two powerful melee combatants. I say combatants, but really it's just Harry with his damage output, while the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle is just there for healing. Honestly, this chaotic duel might just be way too oppressive. Marauder horses here are being slowly worked down by the Knights of Immolation because they are indeed a rather cheap and chaffy cavalry, and the Knights of Immolation have some solid armor. More Marauder horsemen are closely following behind trying to ground these Tinge Flyers so the characters can catch up on food and finish them off. Another regrowth going down on the Knights of Immolation, but then there's only so much healing left on these guys, and soon they will be surrounded and overwhelmed. Now we are in fast forward as the Tinge army is forced to commit their Knights of Immolation into a blob grind to fulfill the attacking rule. Helmet trying to cycle charge within the rule set by alternating between different units, and then there are some Chosens of Tinge engaging into this fight as well. However, they just can't do any effective damage to the Hero Hammer duo, while the Tinge units are being steadily worked down by the constant cycle charging from the Warriors of Chaos units. Without any means to handle my characters, the Tinge army will be throwing down the towel. GG to my opponent Helmet here, though unfortunately for him, the Hero Hammer duo of Warriors of Chaos is just a bit rough for Tinge to deal with. There's no good option for Tinge to handle Herald Hammerstorm here, with his heavy armor unbreakable status and also his melee defense, while the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle is providing a lot of good healing and some stream of corruption to chip away the health of the heavily armored Chosens of Tinge. Surprising enough, the aspiring champions are doing really well in this battle. Two of them earned back well over their value and still having quite a bit more to give with the healing from the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord. This one didn't get any healing support and just got beaten back by the spawns and the Chosen, but still managed to earn back most of their value. For the rest of the army, the Marauder horses did a lot of good damage to the unarmored spawns. Some of them earned back double their own cost, while the Chaos Chariots underperformed for sure. But anyways, they did some good disruption and run down some of those Tinge infantry, so that's all that I'm asking for them. The Marauders, though, being rather chaffy in general, they can't really stand up against Chosens and Spawns and got wrecked in combat. For the Tinge army here, Marauders definitely did not perform well against the very elite aspiring champions. The Chosens, one of them did some very solid damage, the other not so much. Either ways, they were not able to earn back their own cost, while the Spawns, being shot up by the shower of javelins, they did not have a good time as the aspiring champions were able to hold them back. The Knights of Immolation did some very solid damage with the regrowth from Kairos keeping their HP topped up, and then they're just cycle charging and running down, catching a lot of my Marauder horses, and also beaten back the Chaos Chariots with their elite melee status. Kairos Fate Weaver didn't do much damage here as he did not have a good target to use his blue fire spam on. The few times he tried to blue fire my caster, the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord simply healed it all back with his passive heals, and sometimes though blue fire casts just miss their targets. Overall, Herald Hammerstorm is a very powerful addition to the Warriors of Chaos roster, maybe a bit too powerful. He is a deadly fighter with some insane tankiness plus unbreakable, and on top of that he has access to area of effect damage that has great armor piercing. When supported by the Nurgle healing, this might just become the Chaos version of the Gotrek Felix Doom squad. I'm expecting this build to be popular in the multiplayer scene and I'm not looking forward to it. Anyways, that's all for today's battle and I hope you enjoy it. If you want to see more Total Warhammer content, be sure to subscribe to the channel to get notifications for new video uploads. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical signing out.